Hi everyone, Ollie from Baffle Culture here. You may notice we're not in Baffle House today. We are, where are we, Harry?
We are at the Honda Adventure Centre by Dave Thorpe in somewhere around about Taunton, right?
Coombe Sydenham, which is Exmoor National Park. So we're in Somerset, and what a beautiful, amazing place that it is. We've been spoilt today. We've been lucky with the weather for a start, but also some spectacular riding roads and scenery. And we've been here with Honda today, testing out these Africa Twin 1100s. We've got one manual and we've got one DCT twin clutch automatic. And Harry.
Today we've been spending time with some quality instructors, learning a little bit more about adventure motorcycling.
Good point.
It's a 2-day course we're on. We've spent most of today learning how to navigate big bikes off-road, all of the common tricks that adventure riders and off-road riders use that we didn't know.
I thought I knew, and
he didn't.
I looked at twat quite quickly. So,
I feel we've learned a lot in a very short space of time.
Yeah.
And tomorrow we're going to be full-on adventure riding all day long, and we get to spend some time with these bikes and familiarizing ourselves with them so we can go back to the Baffle House and give you a breakdown. So we started off doing some tight circles both ways, to show that we had control of the bikes.
Back to school stuff, wasn't it? It was back to learning riding again. And when you haven't, it's a long time since you ride that slow on a little tiny course like that. So the last time I would have done that was when I was actually doing my test.
Yeah, it was a little unnerving at first, right? But then you very quickly get into the flow of things. Remember that the ground is, various surfaces, mud, gravel, all of that. It was a forestry, essentially.
Very unnerving.
Yeah, so then we did some uphill, we did some downhill, we did some tight cornering where, you have to put your leg out, like the motocrossers do. Learning all of those kind of skills. Every step of the way, it was kind of like a layering exercise. They were teaching you a skill, moving up to the next skill, teaching you another skill, and we kind of worked our way through the morning, had some drinks and snacks.
Building confidence.
That's
what I would say they were doing, because for me, going on this, I've never really ridden that much off-road before, and one of the things for me that I wanted to get comfortable with was when the bike moves, when the bike is moving around and all the rest of it, and doing those uphills and downhills, and they were increasing the speed each time. Even though it was only increasing the speed by a couple of miles an hour, by the time you're doing 20 odd miles an hour downhill on mud and rocks and gravel and all the rest of it, actually it's pretty quick, especially for the incline that we were doing, or decline. And I think it helped me a lot anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. So it became very evident very quickly. There was a very big range of skill, and I think the instructors kind of whittled us into groups very quickly based on how we were handling the bikes. They split us into groups and started to kind of really focus on where our skills and abilities were and kind of improving those. Anyway, so we kind of got through the morning, and we went back out and we went for lunch at a local pub.
Did the job.
Yeah.
Sandwiches, chips, cup of coffee, get back on the bike.
Yeah, and I think the afternoon was really where this started to all come together. We went to a different venue, again, like kind of another forestry area, and what they began with was kind of some uphill and downhill work, and what they were doing, right, it was layering again. So they used a combination of varying speeds, varying gears, using brakes, and combining all of them.
Yeah.
And
It's quite a gnarly lane as well, that was, you know? You're looking at mud, ruts, rock. Obviously, it had been raining. You're underneath a canopy of trees. The other thing that was amazing about the afternoon was actually the venue where they took us was stunning. So as you were riding down and the sun was breaking through the trees, wow, there's some serious views, wasn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good for the soul.
Yep. So, and I think the aim of all of, like, layering all of those different things and techniques wasn't to tell you what is best. It was to allow you to find out for yourself what you feel comfortable with. So, you know, I feel like I came on massively.
Totally, yeah.
And then kind of by the end of that day, we're combining all of the different techniques that we've learned during the day.
We were laughing our heads off.
Yeah, I was feeling a lot more confident.
What was happening then? I was completely stinking dirty. By the end of the day, we were going quick and really got used to the bikes as well by then. You know, we were becoming at one with the Africa Twin, and just felt really confident on it. Felt really good. I was buzzing for the next day.
Okay, so on to day two. Day two was interesting. We went to a different venue again.
Green Lane? I think this was a public green lane by the seams of things.
It was a bit of a ride there. We got some fuel. We got to the venue. The instructors lined us up and said, you know, this is a bit of a steep hill. It's technical. It's going to involve many of the skills you learned yesterday. Wow.
I'd like that steep hill. I think we filmed that, and I've got a video of Harry coming up it and so on. But that was serious. That was a serious hill to climb. You're talking, I don't know. It felt like about half a mile uphill, maybe a bit more, maybe, you know, edging on for more than that. And it was tight mud and ruts up through a forest, and
it was steep.
Yeah, it was steep, and you had to keep a very steady, not too much revs, but obviously I would find difficult. But you had to keep it steady all the way up. You had to use, they taught us a skill where you're standing on the bike, and instead of turning the handlebars, you're actually using your weight to shift the bike left and right. And that came in extremely useful on this section.
I set off up this hill, and it was very steep, and I got sorry, and I got pulled over halfway up the hill by one of the instructors, and I'll be really honest with you, I felt like I was all over the place. I didn't really feel in control going up this hill. Anyway, I get pulled over, and I think it was Flash. He stopped me and said,
Flat tire.
Mate, you've got a totally flat, punctured back tyre. And I have no idea how you actually managed to get halfway up this hill with that tyre.
Skill, Harry.
I honestly, I was surprised I got there.
Class.
So they helped me out. We switched bikes, and which allowed me to kind of do the other half of the hill.
Yeah.
And then one of the instructors gave me his bike, which was, big thumbs up to the instructors.
Yeah. So you had to go on a DCT then. How'd you find it? Strange not having a clutch.
Yeah.
I got used to it very quickly. I really liked it, and I'm really glad I didn't have a clutch then,
right.
and a gear change by the end of it. And before anyone says no, it's not a giant moped or a giant scooter. You still have a proper gearbox, and you can flick up and down the gears. And for off-road work, I think it was fantastic.
And I think we'll get to the bike in a sec, but using the clutch for control just feels so natural.
Yeah.
Especially in technical, complicated terrain.
On the beginning, when we were doing the loop and doing the really slow exercises, that's where I struggled with the DCT to start with, because all your normal skill set that you've learned over the years riding a bike with a clutch, then they're like, oh, here's a muddy, rutty little ring, and I want you to go like 3 miles an hour on it with no clutch. So that took some getting used to.
Yep. We spent the morning putting all of the skills we learned to the test. We rode around. It was open and free in parts. There were some quick parts. There were lots of technical, very sharp turns, lots of hills, lots of mud, lots of water, and forest. And again, at lunchtime,
Loving it.
we went back to the same pub for lunch. And then
The ride before we went to the pub for lunch, the ride, so up on that hill, but then when we left that hill, we went through this forest, and it was just a canopy of like all autumnal colours.
opening out.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
So like,
yeah.
it wasn't too rough or anything like that, but
We kind of wound back out of
Yeah.
the forest, didn't we?
but like if you had 2 or 3 mates riding side by side down through there and all the rest of it, I'd be like, cool,
Yeah.
feels.
So after lunch, on day 2, we went back to a venue, and the instructor said that they constructed a loop for us, almost like a track for us to follow.
Yes.
And they showed us around the track, and it had everything. It had really steep uphills, lots of mud, lots of tight turns, lots of different terrain.
I loved it.
Some serious downhill, and then big, long, fast straights, big puddles of water. And they said, go for it.
Off Camber Bank.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
use all the skills that we've taught you to date. Do as many laps as you like. Go.
And the biggest thing they said is, at the end, they said, and now you can overtake.
Really well. So, to summarise, the guys at the Adventure Centre, the instructors were first class.
They're gentlemen, and you can tell that they've got a high skill set on bikes. They look like natural riders, don't they? And also, they weren't patronising in any way when they were training you. They just came across really well, and they had time for everyone, and they brought everyone on. And so some of the people that were on the course with a smaller skill set than others on bikes, by the end of it, they were kicking ass and riding all sorts of stuff. And
that's a good point.
Yeah,
so the event
credit to them,
Yeah, the event does cater for all skill sets. There were people who were very, new to off-roading. There were people
who haven't ridden for 10 years, and they only rode a tiny little bit before that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the event caters for everyone. At the end of it, everybody was doing what was asked of them.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone came up to the bar, thanks to the quality and the guidance of the instructors. The event gave us skills that we didn't know we wanted, but clearly needed.
Yeah, for me, I mean, by the end of the second day, I was absolutely just loving life, and just that off Camber Hill going up. I mean, the bike was loose going up there, the back end was stepping around, and all the rest of it. And I just, before, that's the kind of thing that would have scared me on a bike, but now I'm absolutely in love with it.
And I think the pace was great, right? I didn't feel there was a lot to learn, but I didn't feel at any point like it was just too much or it was all a bit
rushed.
Yeah, I think the pace was great, and ultimately we came away with this massive thirst now to
I wonder
ride.
how many miles we did. I mean, over the 2 days, 150. Do you reckon?
Probably.
It felt like that. I mean, it was just but it's like it was. I would say it's not a long 2 days, but like afterwards I felt it.
Oh yeah, totally. But yeah, we've come away from this with just this massive thirst for adventure riding and off-road riding.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
The bike has, let's start with the most obvious one, it has plenty of power. You never, for on-road riding, I think it does everything you need it to do. Bags and bags of power.
Good torque, I opened up the throttle and the wheel comes straight up in the air,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Off-road, it has more power than you probably ever would need. However, it is controllable.
Yeah.
The weight is surprisingly, it feels light, although on paper the numbers are quite surprising. It seems quite heavy. It's like 230 something kilos.
Probably the same weight as that.
Well, but it's many years newer.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel heavy. And if you think about it, it's probably the heaviest bike you will ever ride off-road, ever. It was using, really focused off-road tires. I think they could call them 60/40, right? And I checked in.
They seemed more aggressive than that, didn't they?
Yeah. So I actually checked in with Honda and said, what tires we're using at the event, and they are Bridgestone Batlax AX41s.
And on the tarmac,
they were amazing.
Yeah,
they were absolutely amazing.
And that was wet tarmac as well.
It was wet. We were in the countryside. It was muddy. We were in the country lanes.
Yeah,
I was very confident on-road using these off-road tyres.
Yeah, I agree.
And I was always kind of, lots of people have told me in the past that, off-road tyres are not great on-road and they're a bit scary. What do you think about, are there any kind of negatives or
There's
less
not
goods?
there's not a huge amount of negatives. No, I mean heated grips you might want on a bike that costs what 13 to 18 grand. You might want heated grips as standard.
Yeah.
The screen interface, the digital screen interface. There's two different trains of thought on all these now with everyone, But on these modern bikes, I'm starting to get used to them, and I'm all right with them,
I had a gripe, just in that, there's a lot going on that little TFT.
Yeah, yeah.
It's busy. However, I've seen the new Tenere interface.
Even busier?
And I forgive everything.
Okay.
The Africa Twin Screen's fine.
So in that book, it says that the Africa Twin one actually has Apple CarPlay come up on it.
Yeah. And we didn't see that.
No, we didn't.
I reckon
that would be quite handy, I suppose.
Yeah.
How would we round it up? What would you say? Would you recommend the course to people?
The course is brilliant. I feel like we've come away with lots of new skills that we've never learned. So lessons learned.
Yeah.
They call it toe or foot steering. When
foot steering, leaning, putting your weight on each of the pegs.
Well, that was like a revelation. Yeah, Did you know about foot steering?
Never heard of it before.
Me neither.
It's the type of thing you would do automatically, especially if you've been mountain biking before, or you're into any other sports kind of like that.
Yeah.
Then you'll know about shifting your weight around. But no, I've never done that on a bike to steer before. You always use the handlebars.
Yeah. So the instructor said, look, the weight of the bike is the weight of the bike. You cannot alter that. What you can do is alter where your weight is on the bike.
Yeah.
And by doing so, you can actually alter how the bike moves. I noticed when we were doing quick stuff, and there are lots of ruts, and it would pull the bike into the ruts. When that happens, you can actually, if you push down your weight on the opposite pedal or peg, it'll pull you out, right? And I think I used that foot steering more while we were riding than I used my handlebars. Standing up for
off-roading. It feels weird to sit on a bike now.
It does, doesn't it? I honestly, I couldn't. I noticed that when people weren't very confident, they'd sit back down.
Yeah, you get a lot more control standing up.
Well, when you sit down, the weight goes over the back of the bike, and actually it makes it worse. It is literally, I think, probably 10 times easier off-road stood up than sat down.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yep.
I learned not to ride over tree stumps. That's what I learned, and because when your back wheel gets stuck on multiple tree stumps, what's going to happen? It's going to spin and spin and spin, and that was a bit of an issue.
Yeah, you do have video of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Into that.
But relaxing and allowing the bike to move a little underneath you, again, it just makes everything easier. At the beginning, on day one, everyone was a bit tense, and the bike would kind of pull you all over the place. And then as soon as you learn to just relax into it and let the bike move a little, it just feels so much easier.
Yeah.
Power.
I
personally, when you're in the deep, muddy, wet stuff,
rev it.
No.
Come on.
Power doesn't help when you're stuck in deep mud.
I don't believe it. That's a myth, a lie.
Honestly, right? If the bike's in deep mud, if you've got momentum, feel free to use power. But when you're almost at a standstill, trying to climb out of that mud,
power.
No, if you use power, the bike will just bed itself in, right? You just literally almost no power, and you slowly just use the clutch, and the bike will walk itself out of the problem.
No power.
If you use power, you just go down. You sink.
Yeah, but you look cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, cool. Well, I'd probably say thank you very much, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed some of the footage from the Honda Adventure Centre. And we'd just like to say thank you very much to Honda, and also a big shout out to Thunder Road Motorcycles, who helped arrange this trip for us. And if anyone's thinking of getting an adventure bike and something that they want which seems to be bulletproof, very comfortable and quick and does a bit of everything, then this new Africa Twin is certainly excellent. And yeah, it's given us a thirst for more adventure.
Yep. And I'd like to say again a big shout out to Fuel Motorcycles.
Yeah.
They're
They're good people to have on board for an adventure.
They are.
Yeah.
They are. And now we've done some off-road training. We spent 2 days learning to ride off-road. We feel ready to ride anything.
So, yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Our next couple of videos, we're going to be bringing out some of our own bikes and talking about them and some of our builds, which we've got upcoming. So, see you all soon.